All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really passionate review of what honestly might be Christopher Nolan's most ambitious cinematic experience yet, his take on the Odyssey. We're going to break down everything from those mind-blowing visuals and complex narrative structures to the cast performances. Plus, there's a totally unexpected real-world connection the reviewer makes that you definitely don't want to miss. So if you've been caught up in all that massive hype, or even the polarizing pre-release chatter, grab a seat because we're getting into the full picture.
Right out of the gate, the reviewer points to this absolutely beautiful line. The power of sacrifice lies in the person making it. I mean, wow. It sets this epic, incredibly heavy emotional tone immediately. And apparently, it totally shatters those mixed reactions some folks had to the early trailers. According to the review, the film just crushes those initial doubts right from the opening scenes, proving that, yeah, this is an experience literally only a director of Nolan's caliber could pull off.
Moving to Section 1, Nolan's The Odyssey, a 3,000-year-old journey. At its core, the movie is a faithful adaptation of Homer's legendary plot. You know the story. We follow the iconic war hero Odysseus, just desperately trying to get home after the fall of Troy. But man, it is not an easy trip. He finally gets back only to find his kingdom completely infested with enemies trying to steal his life. It's that classic sprawling tale of survival, but shot entirely through a fresh, modern cinematic lens.
Next up, Section 2, IMAX and beautiful visuals, the sensory experience. And speaking of that modern lens, from a purely realistic standpoint, the reviewer is hailing this as Nolan's most beautiful project to date. This is actually the world's first movie shot entirely on IMAX film cameras. After giving us the cold vacuum of space, those crazy abstract dreamscapes, and the grit of Gotham, Nolan shifts gears here to capture the raw, natural beauty of our own world. Every single ancient location has its own distinct, breathtaking character.
To really understand the scale here, the source draws a massive contrast between your standard theater and the IMAX experience, which they claim is 10 to 20 times better. Now, standard screens are perfectly fine. The reviewer actually saw it in a normal theater first and absolutely loved it. But IMAX, it completely swallows you whole. We're talking sweeping, infinite horizon shots of the Aegean Sea from Odysseus's boat, and these stunning volcanic black sand beaches that just completely absorb you into the environment.
And we have to talk about the lighting. The reviewer specifically highlights the film's low-light mastery, which, if you're into film, you know is notoriously tricky to pull off without just looking like a muddy mess. In the Ithaca scenes, the environment is illuminated almost entirely by the flicker of torch flames. So instead of that artificially brightened gray wash where you can't even tell what's happening, you get these dancing flames creating a distinct, highly realistic atmosphere. It makes the whole sequence feel surreal and just incredibly immersive.
Okay, jumping back to the movie, Section 4, Story, Music, and Direction. A non-linear character study. Nolan leans super heavily into his signature non-linear style here. But what's cool is it isn't just some flashy puzzle for the audience to solve. Instead, it serves as this deep, profound character study of how the trauma of Troy fundamentally changed Odysseus. The film constantly explores how his past actively dictates his future decisions, turning what could have just been a fun adventure into an emotional heavyweight that's going to stick with you for days.
And an absolutely crucial directing choice we have to look at is his use of uninterrupted set pieces. What does that mean? Well, to maintain the gravity, danger, and pure thrill of the major sequences, Nolan completely refuses to inject flashbacks into the middle of the action. He keeps these massive, sweeping sequences totally intact, building this relentless, almost suffocating anticipation. The reviewer even mentions that Nolan dips into genuine body horror and dread so well here that they actually want to see him direct a full-blown horror movie next. How wild would that be?
Then there's the sound design, described as a symphony of silence and tension, and it sounds absolutely captivating. There's this one specific sequence where characters block their ears with wax, and the audience hears literally nothing. The silence is only described beautifully through another character's dialogue. And during the fall of Troy, there's this underlying riser score that just continuously builds tension but intentionally never drops the beat. That mix of dead silence, raw wind and water sounds, and total musical suspense just keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time.
Which brings us to Section 5, Strong Characters and Flaws, the human element. The explainer source emphasizes that the script is written in a way that makes you deeply feel the protagonist's highest highs and lowest lows. By the time the credits roll, you feel like you actually know these people. And a lot of that connection comes from these powerful, heavy-hitting conversations. When one character speaks, the comeback carries so much immense weight that the dialogue itself feels just as kinetic and dangerous as any physical action scene.
Of course, that kind of emotional weight requires a spectacular ensemble cast. The reviewer notes that Matt Damon's Odysseus is completely different from his past survival roles, like in The Martian. Then you have Robert Pattinson playing this brilliant, truly menacing antagonist, a massive pivot from his Batman persona. Anne Hathaway flawlessly delivers the heavy emotional power needed for Penelope, and while Tom Holland is praised as being great as Telemachus, the reviewer impartially notes that his energetic style did feel just a little bit like Peter Parker popping up in ancient Greece at times.
Now, keeping things completely impartial, the review does list a couple of minor gripes. First off, some of the hand-to-hand action sequences felt a bit choppy, bringing back memories of the slightly clunky Batman vs. Bane fights in The Dark Knight Rises. Second, there were some tricky modern dialect choices. Having characters drop words like mommy or daddy in a 3,000-year-old setting might pull you out of it for a second. But the reviewer clarifies that these tiny flaws honestly didn't break their overall emotional immersion in the story.
Moving to Section 6, the final verdict, an accessible masterpiece. As we get near the end here, the reviewer stresses a super important point for audiences. Even though this is a highly complex, non-linear sequel to the Trojan War, the movie explains itself incredibly well. So, if you've never watched a Christopher Nolan film before, or you're stressed about getting lost in some convoluted timeline, don't worry. The storytelling is incredibly tight, clear, and totally accessible from beginning to end. So, all of this, the stunning IMAX visuals, the incredible emotional weight, that crazy tension-building sound design, and the killer ensemble cast, it all builds up to the reviewer's ultimate conclusion on the Mocktail rating app. After breaking down every single facet of this massive ancient epic, the reviewer locks in their final score. Let's see what it gets.
And there it is, a rating of absolute perfection. The source proudly declares the film an unparalleled cinematic journey. In fact, they enthusiastically stated they are already planning their next trip back to the theater because they just can't wait to experience the whole shebang all over again.
We've seen exactly how this ancient tale of survival, adaptation, and human endurance has been masterfully translated to the massive IMAX screen. So it really leaves us with this final, provocative question based on all that immense hype. Will you answer the call, build your own tools, and step into the theater to witness this 3,000-year-old voyage reimagined for yourself? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.